All right, guys, welcome back to class. Today we're going to start off with our objectives for this lesson. In this lesson, you will know the power of stories, and you will also understand that stories can have observable effects on people. You will also be able to read and analyze an informational text to learn key ideas about stories and their effect on others. So let's go ahead and get started with talking about our lesson for today. So the first thing that I want you guys to do is I want you guys to look at both sets of these sentences. So we have set 1 and we have set 2. I want you to close your eyes and say each sentence aloud. And then I want you to think to yourself, which sentence in each set provides the strongest mental image? So when you say the sentence, which sentence gives you an actual mental image or gives you a picture for what's going on or what it's about? The sentences are: the singer had a velvet voice, the singer had a pleasing voice, and for set 2, he had leathery hands, he had strong hands. Which one of these sentences give you the strongest mental image? So let's go ahead and look at our focusing and our content framing question for this lesson. This is what's going to guide our learning. Our focusing question is, how do stories help us make sense of ourselves and the world around us? And our content framing question, which we are in our distill stage, says, what are the central ideas of your brain on fiction? What are the central ideas of your brain on fiction? So the first thing that I want us to do is I want us to perform a fluent reading. I want you to pick a free verse poem inside of the crossover novel, and I want you to pick a poem that includes dialogue. So there are many poems in the book that have dialogue, but I have included a few. So The Conversation on page 89 through 90, and then also another poem is called The Conversation on page 91 through 92, has dialogue. Also, Mom Calls Me Into Kitchen. That is between pages 96 through 98. And I'm on free throw number 27, page 101. So these are some examples of free verse poems that are inside the novel that include dialogue that I would like for you guys to practice reading today. So in order to do your fluency work, because that's what we're practicing, is reading fluently and reading like fluent readers, you are going to use handout 1A and handout 21A. When you are reading, you should be demonstrating mastery of fluent reading skills, including reading it with appropriate pace and tone and expressions. You need to be paying attention to the words and the punctuation, and also reading the text with emotion. Again, you are going to be using handout 1A and handout 21A to practice your fluency. If you need a moment to pause here, you can. If not, you can go ahead and stay with me and we'll continue on with the lesson. So today we are going to be adding some new vocabulary into our vocabulary journals. These journals are virtual. You should still have these journals inside of your drive, and you should still be adding slides and adding on to the journal as we go. So the words that we're going to be adding is evocative, elicit, hone, functional, theory, and engage. I want you guys to look at the definitions of these words, and I want you to also again add them to your vocabulary journal. These are going to be extremely important for your vocabulary journal because when we read the text today, some of these words are going to pop out or pop up in the text. And if you do not know what they mean, you will not understand the article. So it is important that we add these to our vocabulary journals so that we are aware of their meanings for our reading. After, I would now like you guys to perform a fluent reading of Your Brain on Fiction. So this is going to be an informational article. But before we read this article, I want to talk about some background knowledge and about sort of what this article is about. So Your Brain on Fiction is about the field of neuroscience. So this article is going to be about neuroscience. And neuroscience is any or all of the sciences such as neurochemistry and experimental psychology, which deal with the structure or the function of the nervous system and the brain. I also want you to know that the brain has regions and they all serve a different purpose. So if you look at this diaphragm right here, you can kind of see some of the regions of the human brain. So like you've got your primary motor cortex, your premotor area, your prefrontal area, your motor speech area, and so on. So each part of our brain is called a region, and each of these regions serve a particular purpose for our body. So I want you guys to know this first before we read our article. So again, our article is Your Brain on Fiction. And this is our article here. I will have a link of this article inside of Schoology so that you can go ahead and read it. I also want us to look at some more background knowledge before we read the article, The Brain on Fiction. So this machine right here is a functional magnetic resonance imaging scanner, or an fMRI. And this machine is used to measure the brain's activity in its different regions. So they'll slide you in there and then they may, play music, or they may have you watch something, or they may do some tests on you to see which one of your regions are most active in a particular state. Now I want you guys to reread the same article in which you have read. And I want you to number the paragraphs. Also, I want you to define any unknown words. And I want you to annotate sentences and phrases that you think contain main points, or that you think contain the most important parts. So this is a very detailed article, guys. So I know sometimes when you guys are annotating, we're not annotating fully. You will not be able to get through this lesson if you are not thorough with how it is that you do your annotations. So please make sure that you're reading and that you are being as detailed as possible when it comes to your annotations. After you guys annotate the article, we're going to have a discussion on a few questions. These questions are here, and these questions are geared to you being able to understand the impact of stories on the brain. So we're going to be understanding how the impact of stories, or the effects of stories, what they do to us. So when I read a story, what exactly happens to my brain when I'm reading, or when I'm, watching a story? What exactly happens? And these questions are going to guide us to this. You will find these questions inside of Schoology for you to be able to answer. Now that we've done some work and we've really analyzed our text and we've talked about a few things based off of our questions, I now want us to see about how we can go about summarizing this article. So we're going to work on summarizing Your Brain on Fiction. In order for you guys to summarize this text, you guys are going to use handout 23A, which is called Summarizing Your Brain on Fiction. So the article or the handout looks like this. Okay. and it says summarizing your brain on fiction. It says provide the central idea. So this is just another word for main idea. So provide the central idea. I'm going to make this a little bigger for you guys. And supporting ideas. So these will be ideas that back up what the main idea is, and a brief account of these ideas developed in your brain on fiction. So here it is. It's written out into sections. So you would write the main idea and then some supporting ideas. And then how does the author use the supporting ideas to develop the central idea over the course of the text? This should lead you to the summary. Now, if you guys do not understand this article, or if you do not understand the assignment, please make sure that you are coming to office hours so that you can get the best help in which you need. After you guys have summarized and broken apart your article, your brain on fiction, I now want you guys to answer the content framing question. And our content framing question is in our distill stage, and it says, what are the central ideas of your brain on fiction? So notice how this question is about the central ideas. But notice that when we went to handout 23A, it broke down the central idea and then those supporting ideas. So it's crucial or very imperative, very important that you do the handout first before answering this question. Then I would like for you guys to complete what's called a 3-2-1 exit ticket. We've done this before, and you're going to do this inside of your response journals. Okay, so this is to be done inside of your response journals. I want you guys to write down 3 effects reading fiction has on the reader, 2 surprising things that you've learned, and 1 reason reading improves us as human beings. If you need to pause here to complete this assignment, please do. If not, you can continue to move forward with me as we go into our vocabulary deep dive. So, our vocabulary deep dive, today we are going to look at 2 words. The words are elicit and evokes. I want you guys to look at this sentence. The slow music, blank, images of a lazy, calm summer's day. Which is the best answer and why? So I want you to pick one of these words to go in the blank and tell me why that is the best answer. So if you've looked at the definition so far, you would know that the word evokes is the best answer that should go inside. And the reason for this is because the music is causing the images to appear in the listener's mind. So it's evoking the images inside of the reader's or the listener's mind. So the correct word, or the best word to go in the blank, would be evokes. So now I want us to think about some things. Let's talk about your brain on fiction, which is the article that we just read. So in the article, it was suggested that descriptive language and stories can activate parts of the brain that control the senses. So if someone says a descriptive word towards me, that may invoke like if someone says the warm chocolate chip oozing cookies, the word warm, the word oozing are descriptive words. And this may possibly invoke my senses to feel possibly how warm that might be, or to imagine or be able to see how the chocolate is oozing out of the cookie. So that's what the article was kind of speaking about when we read Your Brain on Fiction. So now I want you guys to look at the 2 words that we've talked about, evoke and elicit, And I want you to ask yourself, how do these words relate to the process of descriptive words activating the senses? With that said, I want you guys to look at your dictionaries to explore more detailed definitions and determine the nuances. So I want you guys to look up the word evoke, look up the word elicit. And I want you to see how many definitions you're finding for these words. These are called nuances. A nuance is just like a painting. It might have variations or differences in shades of a single color or words. So just like evoke, or just like a painting, the word evoke might have words that are similar to it, but still have subtle differences. And these are called nuances. So they may have different definitions, and some of them are the same, but some of them are a little bit different. This is what's called a nuance. So I want us to look at those nuances when we're looking at what these words mean. To do this, you guys are going to use a Venn diagram. So you should be looking up the definitions of evoke, the definitions of elicit, and then looking at both definitions and seeing how they are similar. To complete today's lesson, I want you guys to complete an exit ticket by finding an example in the article that we just read where Paul, who's the author, uses either the word evoke or evocative or elicit. And I want you to explain why the author chooses this verb or adjective in the particular sentence. Discuss what her choice of words reveal about her ideas about storytelling. All right, so that's going to be it for today. Once again, if you guys have any questions, please make sure that you come to office hours to get that extra help. All right, I'll see you guys again.